certain set of constraints. And I feel like it's really, really nice because just like life, there is nothing that is ultimately free. There's no free system in the real sense of it. Everything works according to constraints. Everything is bounded by something. And that is the beauty of existence. That is the beauty of games. So as you go further, you start to see that games are more than just entertainment. They are philosophical. They're everything beautiful. So it's almost poetry. So yeah, to to play a game is to accept a set of limitations. And remember, rules, interactions, and meanings. So that being said, let's look at why this field matters. So games train reflexes, they train decisions, and they train vision. These are principles behind things like flight simulators, self-driving cars, and virtual prototypes. They all start with game logic. For those of us that are into robotics, right? There is something you probably have heard of, which is Rust 2 and Gazebo. So Rust 2 is basically this god tier level of robotic simulation where you get to plan the entire architecture of a robot or a mechatronic system. And it works along with something called Gazebo. So Gazebo is a 3D engine that attempts to simulate the physics that you're building for your robots. And it's not only 3D engine, there are a lot of 3D engines. There's the Unity, there's Godot, there is Unreal Engine, which is my favorite actually, and that's what I'll be using for this webinar. But yeah, basically, game development are in the heart of 3D engines. When you're making a 3D engine, it's almost synonymous to doing a game. If you've ever had to, even Blender is somewhat, it's not necessarily a 3D engine, but there's some things you can apply. So the point of that 3D engine is to try to simulate real world things, try to simulate gravity, trying to simulate Archimedes principle, trying to simulate rotary movement, trying to simulate a control system, whatever it is, game development matters. So it's possible that even game engineers were the ones that built Gazebo, wouldn't be shocked. So yes, they help train reflexes, they help train decisions, they help train vision. So you guys following me? I just want to know like um you guys are following.
Yeah,
Like
we
it
are.
like someone just saying.
I'm following you.
So again, they are yeah. So again, they are how we teach computers to understand worlds. When you talk about artificial intelligence, machine learning, you're able to feed a computer um, an information, a 3D information, and you're able to teach it how to like interact with worlds. And so game environments are fantastic proving grounds for AI, from vehicle autonomy to complex smart agents to robotic control systems. They simulate based on rule-bound worlds and provide a safe and efficient space for iteration and learning. So it's just you can't like overemphasize the meaningless or the meaningfulness of game development they just use. And even in things like Gran Turismo in Formula One and Forza, I'm a huge fan of car racing games. I don't think there's any car racing game I haven't played, at least I haven't touched. So yeah, they are classic training environments for real world racing to show you how needed they are in Formula One, right? Part of the thing they do to simulate their F1 cars, they use Gran Turismo. And then there's a lot of history behind this Gran Turismo, which I'll just like tell you guys in a bit. So if any of us have watched the movie, the Gran Turismo movie, I think it came out like 2023 or so. It's actually based on a real world um, character that was like I think in the early 2000s. So Nissan was going bankrupt. They were losing customers. Like a normal thing for car companies. At some point, they would just like go down. So we're looking to how to get a race car and get people to drive it and win sports just like for commercial purposes. So there was this game, this Japanese guy that created a really, really feasible, physics feasible game, Gran Turismo. And that's where the era of sim racers were born. The sim racers were these people that had this simulation setup where they have the wheel and all, and they would start driving cars virtually. They wanted to train people on how to actually drive a real race car through virtual simulations. So you can see that this is actually translating. The guy that made the game was able to simulate a lot of vehicle dynamics, like traction control, aerodynamics, torque control, stability, ABS, all those kind of things. So they were able to simulate it into a game, and they bought it for people to play, and that's how they started. And it's still a common thing. So games like Gran Turismo, Formula One, Forza, they're good, and even in NASA and SpaceX, the astronauts that train, they undergo flight simulations or space simulations, basically exposing themselves, trying to mimic how they would feel in space. So honestly, there are just so many reasons why game dev matters. You couldn't be possibly winning to game dev. So the evolution of game development. So we've had Pong in 1972 was a 2D representation of table tennis with basic movements and collision detection. Very basic. So, very, yeah. So the Pong tried to simulate table tennis just using, we probably tried to make a basic game in C++, and you will see that try to make a basic game in C++. You still see that Pong where you're able to move your player left and right to deflect the ball. Then Super Mario Bros. That was in 1985. It was like a really great leap because they introduced a lot of concepts that we even started to have now, like enemy AI, power ups, and sprint to scrolling levels. I haven't gotten to play Super Mario Bros., but I've seen quite a lot and look. Then yeah, now we're in the age of really advanced engines that do a lot for games. And that's where Unreal Engine comes in, that's where Unity comes in. Games like Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat was made exclusively with Unreal Engine. And if you're impressed with that, it's quite obvious why. Sorry, give me a minute. Right, sorry. So, like as I was saying, we've got Unreal Engine that has a lot of capabilities. Then, yeah, so you can just glance through this picture. Now we have systems thinking in game development. So when you think about systems thinking, what do we think it is like? What do we expect systems thinking to be? Systems thinking is the kind of thinking that involves being able to piece different sub components together to achieve a goal. It's kind of how engineers come to build Legos. If you've ever built a Lego before, it's in this manual, and then the third, yeah. So yeah, if you've ever had to build a Lego before, it's in this manual, and then this manual like shows you how to build a Lego. You get different pieces together. So yeah, um, you get to teach, you get to build like Lego, and that is the point of system. Um, so yeah, sorry, just give me a minute. So, can you just hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
yes, we can. Yes, we can.
All right. So, can you please remind me where I stopped last? I kind of forgot. Is anyone there? Like, just quickly remind me where I stopped last.
If you stopped at that, you don't just code graphic, you design feedback loops. You're on the loops of the feedback.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I was trying to say something about systems thinking. Basically, being able to think in systems to create a structure that works. So game development is in systems engineering in disguise. You don't just code graphics; you design feedback. So in this diagram, there's something called game, and it basically entails four things. That's the inputs, the logic, the outputs, and the feedback. The input is basically anything the player is saying or is doing or is deciding. It could be them pressing X on their controller or something, to jump or to rotate or something, or to drift, anything inputs. And then we have the logic. The logic is like your microcontroller in embedded systems and robotics that takes this input and attempts to process the input and do something with it. So it now produces an output which is translated as. So he said the player, after clicking that logic, is processed and then it translates to what we actually see on screen, like whatever action we wanted it to do. And so, we can have different feedbacks. Feedbacks can be large. You have direct feedbacks, you have indirect feedbacks. Indirect feedbacks are the kind of feedbacks that are, they could be, they're not necessarily in the game. They could be feedbacks from, people playing the game. They could be feedbacks from your software. They could be feedbacks from a terminal. They could be feedbacks from a fan based community. Just something that is not directly within the game. But then direct feedbacks are the kind of feedbacks that you get in game. So when you do something, like maybe in a game that is supposed to press L and press R. So, you start to say something like you're pressing R, don't press R, press L. So that's the feedback. It's an in-game feedback. So that's a direct feedback. So we said inputs, we said logic, we said outputs, and then we said feedback. And then we said that there are two kinds of feedback, direct and indirect. So inside Unreal Engine, Unreal is an ecosystem, not just a tool. It's where math, physics, and art converge in real time. Very so Unreal is an ecosystem, not just a tool. It's your math, physics, and art converge in real time. So Unreal Engine is basically a it's just super good for simulations, for game development, for cinematography, for product design. It's just really good. And helps you simulate a lot of things that you just ignore because you don't see them. So just do them. So like, you know, final control, what's everything. And these are the unreal aspects. They're more than this actually, but I would just try to generalize them into four things. So guys, it's like a little um, so yeah, like I said, I would generalize them into four. Um, First one would be high fidelity graphics. So it's known for its renowned cutting edge rendering capabilities, allowing us to create incredibly realistic and visually stunning environments and objects. Go on, sorry. So yeah, if you ever watch like if you go on TikTok or on YouTube and you just check Unreal Engine cinematography, you see like a lot of crazy things. Like a car moving so fast. You would sometimes you almost not be able to tell if it's real or if it's fake. Because there's a lot of graphics that renders, and so it looks like a real movie. It looks like so real. At first glance, it would just look like just something straight out of a movie. You wouldn't think that maybe they didn't even have to get real cameras for this. That's how good Unreal is. And then you have visual scripting blueprints. So Unreal uses this technology called blueprints, and um it's a way of making the development of stuff fun, more fun, and more creative or artistic for a developer or an engineer. So how Blueprint works is that they use something called nodes. My system is not able to connect to the internet currently, but I hope I can do that. I'll show you guys what nodes are. So basically, the visual scripting allows us individuals to allow us to connect nodes. If you ever, how many of us have used Scratch? Scratch here. Um, Scratch, that's the stuff that we all got introduced to for robotics or game development. If you remember Scratch, it had like these blocks, this orange, blue, or whatever colored block that you just piece together to build your set of instructions or your code to be executed, right? So that is somehow how blueprints and nodes work. You've got these visually looking blocks that are like functions. And so you connect these functions in order, just like how we would do object oriented programming or procedural programming. So it helps non-native developers because Unreal Engine normally works with C++. So if you're a C++ guru and you like all this memory management and all, it's quite good. Then yeah, that's basically what it is. I hope I can show you guys later. Then you have modular design. The whole beauty of Unreal Engine is that all of its things are modular. So you have components or elements that are easily reusable, easily detach them and attach them. And everything in your world, everything in Unreal Engine, like your car or your tree or your human being, they're all known as actors. So when you see a game, and then you turn on the light switch. That light switch is the actor. So yeah, um, basically Unreal Options need for modular approach. Everything in a game world is an actor, like a car, character, or light source. These actors are built from components, and these components are small, reusable pieces of functionality. Then we also have real-time lighting. So real-time lighting works just like real-time lighting on Earth, or like you're adapting lighting on your phone screen. So it's used for, you know, making lighting your game according to your physics. Like now, you can make your game such that when it's 12 p.m. in this game, you want the sun to be, hotter. So real time, it's Lumen helps with that. It has a way of, you know, that's a system of making light so incredibly good for whatever cinematography or game sim or design you're trying to build. So yeah, these are like the four main aspects: high graphics, blueprints, modular design, and real time lighting. So just like I said earlier, it's more than just gaming or making games. It's like for use for powering films, virtual production, aerospace simulations, motorsports, AI training. I think Microsoft's DX4 also works with Unreal Engine. Sorry, just give me a minute.
Okay, thank you so much, Abraham, for that wonderful session. If anybody has any questions, please make sure that you at least jot them down so that at the end of everything you can ask. So now I'll be handing over to Joseph to take the second part of the webinar, and then we'll take questions and answers, and then we'll wrap it up. So Joseph, you have the floor. Oh, sorry,
All right,
sorry.
Ma.
A brief introduction. Joseph is also one of our um, subgroup leads for the game development subgroup, and yeah, you'll be the one taking our session, our second session. I'm sorry, I did not have any long bio to read, but yeah,
It's all right.
Joseph, you have
All
the
right. It's all right. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Omoruyi Joseph, or just Joseph is fine. I am a prototype game developer and a student in engineering currently. So, but that's not why I'm here. I'm not here to start talking about myself. I hope everyone can hear me clearly because I can't really tell from here. So, anyway, first things first, I want to paint a picture for you guys about games, right? Games are not just codes. I mean, yes, codes are in it, but that's not the main thing. That's not the only thing. Games are like a magic trick, if you think about it. A magician pulls out a rabbit from a top hat, and everybody is wow, like, oh my god, wow, what's going on? What I am here to do today is show you a little background action, take you behind the curtain to see what goes on for that magic trick. I hope we're all ready and I will continue. So this is basically what I'm going to be talking about throughout. The power of play, what makes games fun, the systems thinking, as Abraham had already said, game development pipeline, basically everything on your that you're seeing on your screen right now is what I'm going to be talking about. I can't talk about everything. Like I can't list all the topics. I'll just talk about it regularly. So first things first, right? Let's start with why games even matter in the first place. Games matter because unlike the music and film industry, games give you the power of control, right? And that power of control is something that every human loves. Basically, because I don't know if you want to think about it, all humans are narcissists. It seems insulting, but that's just the truth. We all love control to some certain degree. So games give us that control, and that's why it matters so much compared to music and film. So um, games in itself brings in a total amount of I think 180 billion plus. This was a statistic from I think 2023, which is crazy because that's even more than, like I said before, film and music combined, which is something beyond what humans can comprehend at this point. Because why is it gaining so much? That's what we're here to talk about, right? How do we engineer that feeling? So, what makes games fun? The fun that you see in games most of the time is actually very predictable. Every game, every good game, in fact, runs on a loop. You take an action, the game gives you feedback, and your brain rewards you with dopamine. Like, yes, we did a good thing. Let's do that again. That's basically what games do. You see the picture on your screen right now is Super Mario. When Super Mario first came out, that sound, that iconic ding sound that you hear when you collect a coin, it sticks with us for a long time. For everybody that has played Super Mario, anybody that has played any, um, what's it called, any 2D game with good sound and good visuals and everything. Those little characteristics stick with us for a long time. So every time you make an action and you get a good feedback, it sticks in our head and then we are tempted to do it again and again. So that loop is what keeps us going. So the system behind the magic, basically, you have to think of a game like a living machine. You have physics that controls how you move, then you have AI that decides what the enemy does, what moves when, and the distance before something happens. basically. So AI controls the logic. When I say AI, I'm not talking about ChatGPT or DeepSeek or any of those guys. No, I am talking about us. Like we create the logic. That logic can also be called AI, but let me know. I didn't want to overcomplicate it. That's why I just decided to call it AI. So then we have systems that track progressions, checks if you have completed a particular goal or if you have passed a landmark or something, just something that tracks that progression. And the funny thing about this is if you change one part of your game, if you change the physics, the amount of gravity that happens when you jump, if you change the visual of your game, if you change the sound that happens when you jump or when you collect a collectible or when you kill an enemy, if you change those little things, the entire game's atmosphere changes. So, moving on, we'll talk about the game development pipeline. This is this simply just shows us that game creation is not chaos, right? It doesn't just happen. It doesn't just appear out of thin air. No, there's usually a pipeline. There's usually a what do I call it now? A system that you're supposed to follow for things to happen. So we start with an idea, basically, or a concept. You think to yourself, oh, what am I going to make? What do I want to communicate to the audience? Because games are like art. You don't just do anything and give it to people and expect them to enjoy it. No, that doesn't work. You have to think. Critical thinking has to be done in the concept and ideation phase. And then after you've gotten your concept, after you've gotten what you're looking for, you move on to the prototyping phase. What happens in the prototyping phase basically is you try out that idea that you just thought of. You try out different processes, different types of that particular idea. I'll show you all these things in play when I talk about my own game in a second because, like I said, I'm a prototype game developer. This is the kind of thing I do. So just chill. Give me a second. Don't go anywhere. Right. So after prototyping, we talk about production. Production simply is adding your assets in everything that has to do with music, everything that has to do with art, everything that has to do with anything that makes your game beautiful. Basically, is done in production phase. In prototyping phase, what you do there is you use placeholders like circles, triangles, and rectangles to just put things in place. Rectangles for the ground, triangles for enemies, and then circles for your characters and whatever. But for production, you take away those placeholders and then put your assets in the pictures, the sound, the everything, right? And then you go into the testing and iteration phase. What happens here is you try out every idea that you have put into that one game. You try it out. You give it to play testers, give it to people to play, your friends, your family, or professional play testers actually, because there are people that this is just their job. Their job is just to play other people's unfinished games, right? So in this testing and iteration phase, you try out different things and see if the game is breaking or not. If the game is breaking on another person's computer, you'd have to then optimize and remove things that are unnecessary or just change the game in itself, basically. And then from there, we go on to the polishing and then release. Polishing is just removing extra stuff, unneeded things, nothing too serious, basically. But mind you, this is not a linear movement, this is not a linear list. After release, you can go right back to the production phase or the prototyping phase. No, okay, no, you can't go back to the prototyping phase because that was done before the game even came into be. But you go back to the production phase and the testing and iteration phase. Those two phases last throughout the lifetime of the game because people are always going to play your game. People are always going to find bugs, and people are always going to complain. Human beings are insatiable, so they would always find something wrong with the game, and then that's where you come in. You come in and you redo and redo and redo, basically. So each layer basically builds that form little by little. So this is my work. This is my robot at this point. Understand what I'm talking about. My game is Toti. It runs Genet. I know, but okay, the pipeline example that I was talking about, I had to sit down first to think about what the game was going to be. When I started the game, I had to two, three other games, how to flip gravity and all that, just to make your game. And then I thought about it, I'm like, okay, I want to do something like this, but with a twist in it. And the twist is the story. The story is what carries this game, right? So from there, I moved on to prototyping, which is currently where I am now. I've been here for a while because you have to think about the littlest things. When I mean the tiniest of things that people would probably not even notice, you will notice it, but it just makes the game feel good, before you even add any other thing. That's why we call it engineering fun, because you are making sure that everything works properly. Even though other people are not going to know the work that goes into it. When you cross a bridge today, do you know the amount of work that was put into building that bridge? No, but you enjoy the bridge. It's the same thing with games. You play a game, you don't know how much time was put into it, but you enjoy playing the game regardless, right? So anyway, I moved on from prototyping to production. I haven't gone full into production. What I have done so far is I've added assets. That's why you can see my character picture right in front of you right now. This is the robot, the main character. So I've just done the art and basically just the art. I haven't added sound. I haven't added anything because I'm making sure that everything is working together properly. Then from there, I'm going to move on to iteration, which is refining everything. Then I'll polish at the end of the day. The one on the right is how it is now. Add a little play button there. Nothing too serious, nothing too fancy. Just a play button and then reset high score button just to check if I knew how to do those things. And then on the right, I added extra stuff, added color, added the character just to make it personalized, if you get what I'm saying. So I added the play button, shop option, and then ROM log. ROM log is supposed to be like story mode, but you get into that when you play the game. I'm not saying anything about that right now. So this is the one on the left was how it was before the gameplay of how it was before. It was bland, it was dark, it wasn't really popping as a game should be. As it's a 2D game, we don't have the edge that 3D games have, so you have to make sure that your art is beautiful. So the one on the right is what it is now. I'm not done with it yet, obviously. I shifted the camera out a little bit so you can see in front of you, you can see the enemies, so it won't be unfair to the player. And this is how the game over screen looks like now, yada yada yada. Now, let's go a little bit deeper into the prototyping phase. In the prototyping phase, this is where the fun is basically discovered. Not even designed. This is where you find out what is interesting for the player. You test, you tweak, you throw away things that are unimportant, and then you review the game again. If I tell you how many times I have tweaked that gravity manipulation thing in my own game, it will be unbelievable because I've done it up to what 9, 10 times, and I'm still not even done. That's even the worst part. I'm still working on the gravity switching, but anyway, whenever I'm done, God help me. So from this prototyping phase, you have to make sure that whenever you do any action, your brain should tell you, okay, yes, this feels right, this is good. That's when you know that okay, I have gotten the fun levels I was looking for. So the engineering in motion simply is telling you that emotions in games do not just come from the storyline or the art. It comes from the code also. Because in the human mind, right, in the human brain, let me do a little science or biology for you guys. In the human brain, whenever we make an action or we take an action, right, that's like 100 milliseconds or something, which is really fast. I know, but that's just how it is. If anything is slower than that, we consider it a lag. If anything is slower than that, we consider it extremely laggy. That's when we now say, okay, make sure that each trigger is feels like extra weight. The sound has to correlate with what they're seeing. So if you jump and land on grass, I should hear grass sound and not water. Because why would I be hearing water when I'm landing on the floor, like a concrete floor, if you understand what I'm saying? So everything that you see has to link up in your mind. That's what makes the game feel good or satisfactory. That's the emotion that I'm talking about. So basically, we have to balance between the challenge and then the flow, right? There's a thin line between fun and frustration, right? If the game is too easy, you get bored, you'll be tired of the game in no time. But if it's too hard, you find every reason to give up. Although this too hard part of game development is something that is not completely proven because there are games like Level Devil, for example. Level Devil, like Devil, Satan, Level Devil. That particular game is a streamer game. Streamer games are made to be exceptionally hard, right? And when streamers play this kind of games, they tend to get carried away. They tend to get carried away and make noise and just entertain their audience, and that brings more people to play the indie game. So those kind of games are considered streamer games. But for you that is just starting out or you want to just start out, if you are going to talk about making a game, it has to be in between those two. It can't be too hard and it can't be too easy at the same time. So basically, we're moving now to debugging fun. This is where the real grind happens. You can play the exact same sequence, the exact same scene, the exact same world in a game over and over and over again just to change little variables, 0.01 variables, just little things that other people will probably not notice. But you yourself, the developer, you will know that it's important. You're not just fixing errors here, you are sculpting an experience. And then when you finally get it right, the player will probably not even notice it. They just feel like, okay, yeah, this game is great, but they will never really notice it. And but going back to this balancing challenge and flow, the reason I put Hollow Knight's picture here is because it's a game that does that pretty well. It's quite frustrating, but also quite easy at the same time. The better you get at the game, the easier it becomes, but the harder the challenges become also. So I just said let me put that out there. So I'm done with debugging fun, and now we move on to the harmony of logic and play. So when the logic that you have been creating as a developer and the creativity merge together, that's when the game feels alive. A game developer carries that brain of logic and then sprinkles a bit of creativity on it with good visuals. And you've created a really good game at that point in time. So game dev is just a lot more than just coding. It's an art, like I said initially. It's joining so many things together because a game developer can do several jobs at the same time just for one game. I have had to do art, I have had to do sound engineering, I've had to do code just because of one game. And I've had to take classes on marketing and marketing strategy just because I want to know how to sell my game. Because after you're done with it, you're not just going to finish the game and then put it in your pocket. You're going to have to market it. That's the whole point of making the game in the first place. So, in conclusion, I want you to think about your favorite game. I don't know what game it could be. It could be Candy Crush, it could be Call of Duty, it could be PES, any game at all. Once you think about that, your favorite game, that sense of pride that you got, that sense of tension or relief, or anything at all, a sense of frustration. In fact, that feeling was not an accident. It was engineering. It was engineered to happen. It was asked to happen. And that's the beauty of this field. Actually, it enables us to turn logic into emotions, basically. So that's all I have to talk about. I wouldn't go too much into my own games or my own work yet. If you're interested in all that, well, I'm sure Princess will let you guys know what's going on. Or should I just say it now, Miss?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, so if you want to know more on game dev, basically, we are hosting a workshop really soon. We're going to be teaching people how Unity and Unreal works. Abraham works with Unreal, I work with Unity. So he'll be working on 3D, I'll be working on 2D because that's easier for me. So if you're interested in game dev, this is something I encourage you to be a part of because it's going to be really impactful. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I think I'm done here.
Sorry, Mr. I'm not seeing any reactions, any clapping emojis. Please give him a round of applause. Give our two speakers a round of applause because it's not easy. It's not easy at all. So thank you so much, Joseph. Thank you so much, Abraham. Abraham had to leave because of uh he wasn't feeling too well, so he had to leave at some point. But he said that he would be willing to show a demo of the game that he's building on the group. So if you're not on the group, I think uh I'll just paste the link to join the group so that any other thing, maybe slides. I don't know. I don't really feel that we should share slides just yet. But yeah, I'll just share the link to the group so that if anybody wants to join, if anybody wants to see a video that shows the demo of I think the games they're working on, you can just join the group from here and I'll paste it in the chat box. So once again, thank you so much, Abraham and Joseph. Please, does anyone have any questions? Does anybody have any questions? You can raise your hands. Can raise your hands. No, I'm not in primary school, so I don't want to start calling people's names. Nobody has a question. Wow. Anyway, me, I have a question, Sha. I have a question. If the rest of you don't have questions, may I have a question? Okay, so I keep asking this thing because um I keep saying it every time I get the chance that uh before I think the past 2 months, that's like before September was August. That's like before August. I did not know that people actually made a living from like building games and everything. Maybe I knew that, oh, like there are people that make them, but my mind never went to, oh, it's possible for this thing to be like a career for people and all of that. And I know that you mentioned it towards the end of like the whole presentation that, oh, you actually take time to market yourself and everything and everything and everything. So the question I have now is, if someone wants to go into game development, I know that for you to be able to put a price on the value that you're offering, it has to be good to a certain degree. Maybe not pro level, but at least I feel like there should be, let's say, if out of 100, it should be like 60% good. So for someone who is just new to, let's say, the tech world or the game development world now, what approach do you think they should use to what approach do you think they should use as people that want to venture into game development and make it either a side hustle or basically make a living out of it? So, what advice or what roadmap would you give them? So that's my question.
Well, um, from the small that I've done in my life, I have not done far now. It's not 2019 yet that I started. 2019 is not far yet. It's not
Small
so
that
far.
you've done in your life.
Ma?
I said you said the small that you've done in your life.
Yes, no, I'm not, I'm not done too much. So anyway, the roadmap you're supposed to have for game dev, right? I think I answered something similar in the game dev group chat. I said, or I think me and Abraham both said that in order to be good at anything, in fact, you have to have like constant practice. If at any point in time you stop game dev and you come back, say a month later, you are most likely going to start having issues all over again. So for somebody that is just starting off, let money not be your passion. Let money not be your drive. Yes, so money is there. Don't get me wrong. You see the start of my presentation, 180 billion. That's not small money, right? But that should not be your drive. Your drive should be The love for the game, pun intended, the love for the game should be what drives you at this point, not just the money, because it gets to a point you have burnout, it gets to a point you get overwhelmed, right? Because game dev is not going to be anybody's main drive, nobody's main source of income. Unless you have already made it, you cannot make game dev your main source of income. So it is it is important for you to have constant practice. So if you're practicing today, you say, okay, I will do this today. I will learn how to make the character jump today. I'll learn how to make the character jump twice tomorrow. I'll learn how to make the character jump three times tomorrow. Just make sure you're always opening your game engine, whether it be Unity, whether it be Godot, whether it be Buildbox, whether it be Unreal. Just make sure you are constantly working on it. And trust me, at some point you eventually grow love for your game, because if you start initially, you get frustrated, you get tired, you get irritated, and you even want to throw it away there. But constant practice, determination, discipline, those are the things that, and consistency, yes, those are the things that would ensure you become better in the field that you are in. I have had to change engines from Buildbox to Unity when I first started, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy learning Unity, but I was able to learn it at the end of the day because of constant practice. And I'm not even done learning. There's still some things that happens in Unity that I don't even know about yet. But with constant practice, everybody can get to a certain level that you can now put a price tag on your game. Do you get? So that's what I think so far. Abraham is not here to add his own input, but that's what me I think. So any other questions?
I have another question, but I'll ask again
Ah,
if anybody else has any other question. Does anybody else have any questions? Before I'll ask mine. I'll call names because I don't understand why people ask questions, don't have questions. But me, my dad always said, oh, no matter where you find yourself, always make sure that you ask questions because you don't know who it is going to help. Oh, Abdurrahman has a question. Okay, Abdurrahman, go ahead. Abdurrahman, you can mute your mic.
Yeah, my question is earlier you spoke of a situation where emotions are designed into the game's mechanics in order to make the players feel those certain emotions. And my question is when it comes to those certain emotions, are there specific game mechanics that can accidentally give an unintended emotion depending on how they are implemented?
lovely question. I really like that question. So basically, basically, I'm going to use three games as my what do I call it now? Three games as my point of interest. I don't know who has played Limbo here. Limbo, Limbo, Limbo. If you've played Limbo, you can tell that that game is very slow. It's draggy. It's not fast. It's slow. It's chill. That was exactly what the developer wanted you to feel. Alongside the atmosphere, that is the art that you're seeing, the physics of the game is also very slow. You never see the, I've forgotten the name of the character. You never see the character run. Even if he does run, it's not too fast. It's extremely slow because that's what they want you to think. That's what they want you to feel. That's the emotion that they're passing to you. That's the story they're trying to tell. Another game to point out is Celeste. I think I showed Celeste in my in my slides. Hold on. Let me bring out the picture so you guys can see it. Celeste. Celeste is a game that is very fast. The controls are very responsive. The story is progressive, yes, but the game itself is fast. It's meant to be fast. So, okay, another question. But hold on, let me finish. So, Celeste is telling you that you are supposed to feel on edge. They're not trying to slow you down. No, they're not trying to pat your back and tell you, no, you can play this while you want to sleep or something. No, if you want to play Celeste, you have to be wide awake and attentive. And then there's also Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight is like the sweet middle between those two. Hollow Knight tells you that, okay, you're in a land that you do not know. Of course, you'll be careful, but you also have to be fast. So it employs both speed and drag when it comes to the feelings. So it tells you exactly what you're supposed to feel, just with what physics, just with gravity, the way you jump or how you jump, not just how you look now, how you jump. Because if you're looking at just how you look, Hollow Knight is a very dark game, so you think it will be slow, but it's not slow. It's both slow and fast at the same time. So yes, emotions can be spoken or communicated through a game's physics just by altering how responsive your game is to people's input. So I don't know if that tells you what I meant by emotions. I'm talking about just the physics, the speed, and whatnot. So any other question? And fortune, I think. Yeah, fortune.
Hello. Can I? Uh, can you hear me?
Yes,
Can
we
anyone hear?
can.
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you now.
All right. So my question is majorly on the designs and animations of your characters, because I'm of the opinion that, like you stated earlier, you most games are being designed or given the art style to give a certain feel to the players and the audience. So majorly, I'm asking. My question is on animations as a subset of art. How is that integrated with the coding mechanics? Because when, for example, let's take Hollow Knight like you used earlier. We there are some actions, or there are some animations that are being attached to a trigger button, for example. So let's say you press the jump button, the character jumps. So that is that is on the basic level. But like, what if when we're talking about things that you don't that certain scenarios triggers, like animations where that certain scenarios triggers, if I'm being understood, how is that achieved? Is that, I don't know, is that something the engine handles, or is that something you have to specifically input?
Okay, for animation, right? For animation, unless you are a die-hard back-end developer, that you're like, I don't want to do anything easy in my life. I want to be hard. I want to, do hard stuff. That's when you start thinking of coding animation. That's extremely stressful. I do not advise it for anybody, especially for anybody that is just starting out. If you want to do animation, every engine that you are going to use is done with the engine that you are um, using. So if I say, okay, I want to use Unity, for example, Unity has something called Unity 2D animation. It also has 3D animation also. So the animation is handled by the engine that you are using, not by you that is coding. You can decide to, but I do not advise it for anybody that is just starting out. So I think that's the base of the question. Any other thing?
Yeah, I think I understand what you mean.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem. Any other question?
Does anybody else have a question before I ask my own?
You have another question?
Yes, no, I mentioned it before Abdurrahman took his own.
Okay, okay.
So nobody has a question again. Okay, I'll ask my question. So my question is, what made you start, or what made you go into game development? Give us a backstory. That, oh, one day I was sitting and then I was
I, I,
thinking,
I, I initially said I didn't want to talk about myself, but fine. I would talk about it a little bit. So, how game development started for me was I had this one laptop in the house. Mm, it had a pink screen. Pink screen in the sense that I could not see the color green. The color green would be showing as black. But I liked the laptop. It was my first ever laptop. It was given to me by my brother. And I was like, okay, I don't want this laptop to just be sitting in the house. I want to learn how to do something with it. And I liked games a lot. I always wanted to understand why what was happening. It's a thing of curiosity, nothing else, just curiosity. So I was curious one day and I found App Inventor. That was the first ever thing that I used to code any game in my life. My first ever game was made on App Inventor. And App Inventor looks a lot like Scratch. You're connecting nodes like puzzles or whatever. And I made a mole game. You know, whack the mole that you see the mole come out from a hole. You hit the mole, you get a point. If you hit a bomb, or in my case, I use poo. I don't know why. I just use poo. So if you hit the poo in my game, you lose a couple of you lose a life. That was my first ever game. And then from there, I was like, okay, I want to do something better. This is good, but this is not good enough. So I started learning how to use Buildbox. Buildbox was good because it was for beginners. But then they became bad because they started asking for too much money. I'm a student, for God's sake. Where would I see $200 to be giving me people? I don't have that kind of money. So I had to run away from Buildbox. All while on my pink laptop, let's not forget that. So I was not even seeing the art that I was doing. I was just doing it with hope. And I would Google the hex code for a color and put the hex code into Buildbox and use the color there. So I never really knew what I was working with. Then I got another laptop, and then on that new laptop, I decided to learn how to use Unity. And I thought Unity was a very frustrating engine because it was really slow. Not until I changed laptop and I realized that it was the laptop that was the issue, not even Unity. So, but that's another story for another day. So that's my progression so far. I moved from App Inventor to Buildbox, then to Unity. My drive has always been the love for the game, nothing else. I mean, I like money. Who doesn't like money? But that's not really why I am playing. Or that's not really why I am making games. I am making games because I just like it. I enjoy it. I enjoy seeing my imagination come to life. Name of my studio, quote unquote, is Junkyard Imagination. You get so it was Junkyard because I was using a PC that was like a junk scrap right next to any professional game developer. You get the laptop I was using was mainly for Excel and Word and whatnot. That was basically what it was used for, not Unity. But I was running Unity regardless, and I was making good stuff. I published my first ever game on from that laptop. Sure, it's not a good game by my standards, but it's out there. Do you get? I don't think it's there anymore, but it was out there for a whole year or so, which is quite good. So um, the whole progression anyway was just because of passion, nothing else. That's why I said make sure that money is not your main drive. If it is, then I'm so sorry for you. You get tired. That's how anything in this life is. So, Princess, I hope I have exposed my backstory to you now. I hope you're happy. Any other questions?
Oh, I don't know why I didn't want to share the story in the first place, but thank you. Thank you.
Michelle David,
Somebody
I thought
said,
you just joined. Okay,
eh,
no problem.
what is asking question? Michelle, please go ahead.
I hope I'm not too late. Um,
You
anyways,
are, but
so
okay.
yes, so Joseph, from what I've heard and what I know about you, yes, I feel like you're right. Developing games is not just about how you can make money. You can look at all these big game companies and you can see how greed has affected them in terms of production of their games. You can't tell me that there's no game that you currently play now that there's no some form of in-game purchases. They are driven by greed. So if your own goal is just to make money, you lose out on the experience of actually making a good feasible game. So yes, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you for agreeing with me. Thank you very much. So As you've heard, money basically just brings out greed in you, and then you lose the whole beauty of game dev. Game dev is not just for money, basically. It's, like I said, art. And in order to bring that art to life, you have to sit down and actually make that art work. For any artist that you know that draws, like or paints or whatever, they don't draw in 1 hour now. And some of them don't even draw because they're looking for money. Some of them actually just draw because they like it. You get what I'm saying, right? Before I started anything game dev, one of my hobbies was drawing. Not anymore. Who was that time? But back then, yes, that was one of my hobbies. So when I drew back then, or when I learned how to draw, I wasn't drawing because I was looking for money. I was drawing because I liked it, and then that whole feeling translated into game dev. And now it's even easier because it's a laptop step, all those kind of things you get. So I think if there's any other question, please let me know.
Does anybody else have any question? Okay, nobody. Okay. Well, once again, if you've not joined the group chat, please make sure you do before we leave the call. It's in the chat box. I think I'll send it again so that those who want to join will be able to join. Uh, sorry, let me quickly copy this. So if you want to see the demo, sorry, if you want to see the demo of a game that I think either Abraham or Joseph wants to share with us, please feel free to join the group chat via the link in the chat box. Um, I think that brings us to a close. I'm actually very happy that thank you all for showing up. Thank you for making YFE 7-month anniversary a success. For those of us who do not know, we'll be having a game development workshop very, very soon. So more details about it will be dropped in the group. And if you haven't joined the community, I will also drop the link for that in the group chat. Um, what else do I have to say? Yeah, and your favorite engineer is going to be having an in-house competition where different members of the community who are part of the different subgroups will form a team and then create a solution or pitch an idea. And then whoever the winner is for whatever category they sign up for, they are going to win a cash prize of 40,000 naira. And also for those who are in their final year, you also stand a chance of getting mentorship for your final year projects. And the 40,000 naira itself may even be more because a friend reached out to me and I think he wants to sponsor. Yeah, I think he wants to add like a bit more, augment to the prize money. So if you're interested in that, please be sure that you um, join the community because that's the only way that you're going to be eligible to take part in the competition. The landing page for submission of projects or pitching ideas will be up during the course of the week. So please be sure to tell your friends. If you have any friends that you like to work with and you want to work with them and you guys want to stand the chance to win the money and the mentorship and yeah, for the different subgroups, there will also be other incentives that will be given for those that fall in the runner up category. But if you have a friend that you would like to work with, have any people in mind that you want to team up with, and they are not part of the community, please share the community membership form link with them, also to be shared in the group chats. So yeah, shameless plug. So thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Joseph, um for having us and for such a wonderful session. On behalf of
Thank you,
Abraham,
ma'am.
yeah, and also thank you to Abraham, who's not here, but thank you, Abraham, for also a very wonderful session, for breaking the ice at least and helping us have a good knowledge of it before we started everything. Also, again, if you would like to join the community or the game development subgroup in particular, please fill the form that I will send to the group chat. Make sure you join the group chat if you haven't. So yeah, we covered all this in good time. We spent an hour and 32 minutes or 34 minutes. But we did well. We did well. So thank you guys for coming out. Please be sure to spread the word about the in-house competition and about the game development workshop, because I know that our subgroup heads are going to deliver and over-deliver. Yeah, so as we close, I'll just take the closing prayer and then we can now go to carry out our various activities for the day. And for those of us who are in school, no shade intended, but all the best this week. Yeah, and then for those of us who have work tomorrow, the Lord is our strength. But yeah, I'll take the closing prayer now. Father in heaven, we thank you for a successful webinar. We thank you for grace. Thank you for how you've helped us. Thank you for wisdom and utterance that you gave to our speakers. Thank you for everything that we've been able to learn today. Thank you for all our questions answered. And thank you because now we know at least a good percentage about what game development is about. And thank you for what you are going to keep using your favorite engineered communities to do. Pray that the virtue that departed from our speakers, Joseph and Abraham, that it is replenished and restored back unto them in multiple. Pray that you continue to use this community to do great and mighty things, that people will learn, unlearn, relearn, and they will be strengthened in the tech and engineering space in Jesus' name. Thank you, Father. We commit the new week that will be entering, which is the last week of the month of October. I pray that all will go well. And even as we cross over to the new month of November, we pray that you help us and that the new month of November will be far greater than the past 10 months in Jesus' name. Commit the new week into your able hands, and we close this meeting in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Thank you, Father, once again for showing us mercy and for the success of this webinar. In Jesus' mighty name, we have prayed.
Amen.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please be sure to post about it and share what you learned, whether on your status or LinkedIn or whatever. And if you are a member of the community, and again, if you want to be featured on the company page, please be sure to reach out to me. Yeah. So thank you, guys. Bye. And spread word about the game dev webinar workshop also. Thank you. Bye.